My last slides in this presentation are about the standards in reporting research. Standards in reporting, and there is a beautiful accumulation, beautiful web group, the Equator Network. Please click on the link and you will see, or I may show you. Wait just a minute. The Equator Network. The Equator Network makes a good, excellent job, I would say, by accumulating all the famous, important reporting guidelines for the main study types. Okay, I have copied from their web page some of them to my slide here. For example, if you have a randomized controlled trial or randomized trials, experimental studies, then there is the consort guideline. And if you go on the Equator Network and click on the different guidelines, you will see what kind of suggestions are made to publish or to prepare a report or in randomized clinical trials or randomized trials. If you have observational studies, such as cross-sectional cohort or case control studies, then it is suggested to follow the STROBE guideline. Or for systematic reviews or meta-analysis, you may benefit, you may take help from the PRISMA guidelines. If you are writing a case report, then there is the CARE guideline, and so on. If you are doing a diagnostic study, a prognostic study, there is the START guideline. So I believe these 5 would be enough to remember for the students, but for almost all different types of research, there are different criteria or guidelines to be followed. Just to show you one example, in the PRISMA flow guideline, there is a suggestion to include in your study a flow diagram. A flow diagram of your, because it is a systematic review, you are expected to review the literature, find evidence, find individual studies, and summarize them to come on a conclusion. Records identified through the search, how many studies you found, how many you found beyond other than by the search through maybe forward reference search, etc., or searching the gray literature, they call also, and how many of them you screened and excluded, and how many at the end were included in your systematic review or meta-analysis. So you may start with 1,000 or 4,000 or 5,000, and you may end up with by analyzing maybe 10 studies, summarizing the evidence from the remaining 10 studies. So this is just one part of a guideline recommendation. Of course, the PRISMA guideline includes many other suggestions, but you are not supposed to keep all these different suggestions in your mind. When you require, you go and you look at the checklists or the guidelines. But I suggest that at least you should be aware that there are guidelines for the individual study designs and which guideline applies to which study design, and so that when you're reading a paper, when you're reading a systematic review or meta-analysis, that you should know that you should expect to see whether they followed the PRISMA guideline or any other guideline or not. When you're reading experimental study, then you should expect that this study is reported according to the consort guidelines, or you should search for such clues showing the quality of the reporting. Good. That's all for today. And if you have watched the presentations carefully, you should now be able to tell the 5 A's of EBM and how the EBM pyramid 5.0, the 5 S's, what they mean and how they are graded, how they are ordered. And lastly, the standards, at least the 5 important ones, which standard is applying for which study design. I'm remaining with this and hoping to meet you in other presentations. Thank you for watching.